Okay, what I'd like to show you guys here today is how to weld two pieces of copper together for grounding operations. Most of the time that's within a substation. So what we're going to start out with here today is a Cadweld mold. First thing you really want to look at, if you guys can see this, is the labeling on your Cadweld. So today we're going to be doing a 4-aught connection to a 4-aught connection. And as you can see at the bottom, it calls for a 150 plus Cadweld shot. So what I've got here is a 150 plus Cadweld shot. Uses an electronic igniter to shoot it off, which they consider is much safer than the old way of just dumping the powder into the mold and lighting it off with an igniter or a torch. I've already got the 4-aught laid out. The one thing you want to check with your copper, you want to make sure it's clean, so you'll use a wire brush and clean it up. And most definitely you want to make sure it's dry. So what you do is use a propane torch, big enough to dry your copper out. One of the main concerns with having water in it is when these things shoot off, you have molten metal inside of these Cadweld shots that can reach temperatures of 2,500 degrees. So what that'll do is cause the water inside of your copper, if there's moisture in it, to expand rapidly, and you could blow molten metal out all over the place or possibly blow up the mold. So we'll get started here. Put the gloves on. Notice I've got an FR shirt on. Put this stuff together. This is a T-mold. Make sure your T-mold is fitting properly, that it's nice and snug. So we'll open this up. We'll get this torch out of the way, this wire brush. This here is the igniters that we use. Little tab on the 150 plus. We'll just simply plug it into the igniter, stick it in, and close it. One thing I didn't mention, before you stick this in, you want to make sure that this has a clear path all the way to your copper. Sometimes it gets clogged up with older molds. We'll stand back, and then one thing we'll do, you'll notice that I do when I ignite this, is I'll actually yank the cord off of the Cadweld mold. That's because these hot molten metals come out at the top a little bit, and if you don't, you could melt your cord down after several uses. So here we go. I'm going to hold the button down. And it's really as simple as that. One thing I've noticed, when you're making a T-shot such as this, these types of molds, if you don't open this up while it's still a little hot, this mold may actually lock onto the copper. So we'll open it up, set this off of our board. As you can see here, it has this little nipple here as it came down, running down through there, and it's that little nipple right there that will lock up on you when it dries hard if you let it cool inside the mold. So if that happens, sometimes you can break it off and you're able to clean the mold out, and I don't know, sometimes you end up leaving the mold on your wire, so it's best to pull it off while it's still halfway warm.